This video is sponsored by War Thunder. The 20th century was just beginning, and the Russian Empire was making significant upgrades to its navy. Towards the end of 1911, they built a vessel unlike most at the time, a salvage ship that would rescue submarines from the ocean's depths. Based on the German SMS Vulkan, the Russian engineers created a ship whose lengthy and fruitful career no one could have foreseen. In 1915, Kommuna began her service with the Russian Empire. She then became part of the Soviet Navy and continued her service with the Russian Federation over a century after her commission. From the biting waters of the Baltic during the Siege of Leningrad to modern-day rescue operations in the Atlantic, Kommuna is the oldest ship in service with the Russian Navy, but that hasn't stopped her from carrying out some of the most challenging assignments in the Black Sea, including the secretive recovery of highly delicate materials from the sunken guided missile cruiser Moskva. Salvage ship Kommuna remains the world's oldest active-duty naval vessel and has served in numerous conflicts during its more than 100 years of service. Now you have the chance to get an even closer look at the most powerful military vehicles from the time the Kommuna was commissioned to today in War Thunder, a military vehicle combat online game that brings you a full, entirely immersive experience in which there are over 2,000 tanks, helicopters, and ships to choose from. Each is meticulously modeled with the most detailed and dynamic vehicle damage models in gaming. We are obsessed with recreating famous battles and testing realistic what-if scenarios. Click on the link in the description below and experience one of the most mesmerizing and enveloping combat experiences in existence. War Thunder is extremely easy and friendly to use, with a fully cross-platform capability between players on PC, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and the previous console generation. You don't even need extra hardware, as you can fly any aircraft using only your mouse and keyboard, making it an incredibly intuitive journey as you conquer more than 100 battlefields. Click on the link in the description below to register and start playing. And we have a special free bonus for new users that includes a premium tank, aircraft, and ship, along with a 7-day account boost. Click below and join today. Conception. Kommuna, the first Russian double-hull vessel, was conceived early in the 20th century. Ordered by the Navy General Staff, the ship was based on the innovative German SMS Vulkan. On December 30th, 1911, the Putilov Company received an order from the General Directorate of Shipbuilding, officially winning the contract. 5 months later, the parts signed the construction contract. The ship was laid down at the Putilov factory, now the Kirov factory in St. Petersburg, towards the end of 1912. She was named Volkov and launched within a year, though she was not commissioned until July of 1915. Volkov's unique-looking design took heavily from her German inspiration, but compared to Vulkan, the Russian version was longer and had a considerably greater displacement and a more extensive rig. Also, she had 2 lifting frames between her catamaran hulls to pull robust objects from the seabed and into her bay. And her double-hull construction provided enough space for docking submarines and diverse salvaged objects. Both ends were joined, thus creating a moon pool. Volkov could carry 10 spare torpedoes and 50 tons of fuel, and she housed accommodation for 60 submariners. In 1915, the vessel finally entered active service and acted as a submarine tender and salvage ship with the Baltic Fleet. Rebirth. Volkov's first successful salvage of a submarine happened in mid-1917 when she raised the sunken Holland-class AG-15 off a land. Later that year, she also refloated the Bars-class Adinerog from a depth of 13.5 meters. Notably, she would service British E- and C-class submarines on top of Russian models. Volkov continued rescuing sunken boats and operating as a submarine tender in between assignments with the Russian Navy until the communist uprising of 1917. The salvage ship then participated with the Soviet Baltic fleet in the Civil War and was redesignated days after the founding of the USSR in 1922. It was then that she officially received the name of Kommuna, meaning commune, a more appropriate title for the nation's drastically changed political outlook. The ship would carry that name for the remainder of her extensive career. Kommuna continued to serve in the Baltic, and she once extinguished a fire aboard the Zmaya submarine. She also raised the dispatch boat Kubchik and the Krasnoarmeyets. In the late 1920s, Kommuna raised the British submarine HMS L-55 from a depth of 62 meters. She had been sunk in the Gulf of Finland the year before, and would later become a prototype for the Leninets class. Kommuna also tended submarines early in her service life. Other than recovery missions, her tasks included repair work and refueling, as well as swapping the ship's crews. Needless to say, she came to the aid of many sorts of ships, including a tug and torpedo boat. And she would also be deployed to salvage aircraft later in her career. Still, perhaps her most notorious role came in 1941, following the German invasion of the Soviet Union. Based at Leningrad, formerly St. Petersburg, Kommuna faced the relentless bulk of the Nazi assault during the siege. Road of Life. Despite being bombed and damaged during the German invasion, the salvage ship dutifully continued her service. At the time, the city's only supply route was known as the Road of Life, and it was a treacherous path. Kommuna helped recover valuable tanks and vehicles that had fallen through the ice. In March of 1942, Kommuna retrieved 4 KV tanks, 2 tractors, and 31 vehicles from Lake Ladoga, and the vessel repaired 6 M-class submarines and salvaged many other ships before the end of the year. The crew was then sent to the Volga River, where they recovered the tug Ivan and an Ilyushin IL-2 aircraft. For her invaluable role in salvaging such precious vehicles from sunken supply ships during the harrowing campaign, Kommuna and her crew were awarded the Medal for the Defense of Leningrad. Still, they were nowhere near done. In 1944, the vessel recovered a total of 11,767 tons from 14 wrecks and also repaired 34 ships. And after the war, the ship continued her service until a due refitting in 1954, where she received more modern Dutch engines to replace her obsolete machinery. While Kommuna's double-hull construction was intended to provide space for docking and an assortment of salvaged vessels and objects, she was upgraded many times over the years. Moreover, submarines grew significantly in size in the post-war era and the Cold War, so her central area was repurposed. Kommuna then continued her service through the end of the 1950s, successfully locating the submarine M200 and raising the M256. However, she needed a proper enhancement a decade later if she wanted to remain in service. The salvage ship eventually sailed from the Baltic to the Black Sea in 1967, and her central area was refitted to house compact recovery submarines, smaller remote-controlled submersibles, and parts of collected wreckage, a transformation that cost 11 million rubles. However, the time and resources invested in these improvements would handsomely pay off past the turn of the century. UNSHAKEN. Kommuna was later refurbished to serve as a Deep Submergence Rescue Vehicle, or DSRV, mothership. The ship received a first-generation 45-ton Project 1837 submersible boat, capable of diving to 500 meters and rescuing no less than 20 submariners at a time. Equipped with a Type AS-6 Poisk-2 submersible, Kommuna then broke a record in December of 1974 while diving to a depth of 2,026 meters. The ship was so effective that 3 years later, she was deployed to search for a Sukhoi Su-24 aircraft that crashed off the Caucasus and sank to 1,700 meters. Then, in 1984, Kommuna was to be transferred to the Russian Academy of Sciences, but the initiative was cancelled. Afterward, the ship was intensely looted and required a complete overhaul before re-entering naval service. It wasn't until the summer of 1999 that Kommuna received another redesignation, categorizing her as a rescue ship instead of a salvage ship. But as time went by, the Project 1837 submersibles were retired, and Kommuna was equipped with the Project 1855 Priest-class DSRV AS-28, which she has to this day. The new submersible proved to have similar performance, with the notable exception being its ability to dive twice as deep. Furthermore, the boat features 2 manipulator arms that enable it to execute several tasks on the sea floor. ROVs, or remotely operated vehicles, can also be hosted and operated from the ship. After the turn of the millennium, the new centenary vessel was equipped with a British Pantera Plus rescue submarine, with a range of operation of up to 1,000 meters. And as of 2012, she was in service with the detachment of rescue vessels based at Sevastopol. Old Lady. Casual observers often overlook naval auxiliaries. However, in times of war, they rise to the spotlight whenever they're needed. As independent analyst H.I. Sutton expressed, quote, "Among them, salvage ships are so obscure that they are often forgotten in popular fleet lists." When the guided missile cruiser Moskva was sunk in April of 2022 while being towed back to port on the Crimean coast, Kommuna was quick to answer. While there are no official reports on what precisely the vessel was carrying, sensitive materials and classified items, weapons, and communication systems are a high priority for immediate recovery efforts. Indeed, her sinking is considered the most prominent naval loss during combat in decades. Sutton reckons that it is likely any salvage attempt will involve the veteran ship, whose modern hardware would easily reach the wreckage. However, Moskva was sunk in one piece, and her size makes her recovery highly impractical. In the meantime, Kommuna will assist in retrieving important materials that foreign powers might target. Also, given her proximity to the wreckage site, Kommuna might be an ideal choice to surveil the area. Throughout her career, the rescue ship has raised over 150 vessels, among submarines and other types, but the 110-year-old ship is far from obsolete. Despite the numerous enhancements she's undergone throughout the years, her basic structure remains virtually unchanged. And she continues to serve while having been operated by the Russian Empire, the Soviet Union, and the modern Russian Federation. In fact, the rescue ship is currently the oldest vessel in active service with the Russian Navy, and as Sutton wrote, quote, "Whether you see her as an elegant old lady or an out-of-date accident waiting to happen, she is certainly one of the more interesting ships afloat today." Thanks for watching, and thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring our video and offering our Dark Seas viewers this exclusive offer. Don't wait to click on the link in the description below and take advantage of the free bonus for new players. Click now and receive a free premium tank, aircraft, and ship, as well as a 7-day account upgrade.